Gamers, what's the worst rage quit you have ever seen? Ranked Halo 2, buddy of mine was one level away from reaching 40, which was very respectable in that game. We lose the game of Slayer 4950. He goes down a level and literally throws his Xbox out of his second story window. He didn't rage quit from the game so much as his own sanity. Yeah, those were the days though, before they changed the rank system. That was true gaming. Story 2 was playing a match in the CSGO 99 Damage League. After like 8 rounds, we were far ahead. One of the opponents went AFK, and we asked him what's up. Turns out he got so ragingly mad, he smashed the table with his fist so hard he broke not only it, we got a pic of that, the white coating was completely cracked open and the wood was visible, but also his hand, and he had to go to the hospital. Obviously, we won. Story 3. A few years back, I was playing Conquer Online, and 2 of the guys in the guild I was in were in some sort of feud that was going on for a couple of weeks now. One guy put a lot of money into his equipment while the other guy struggled with his equipment but was smart enough with words that were grinding the other's gears. An event began where it was sort of like a lottery where opening some boxes would give premium credits. One of the guys spent over 200 euros and got roughly 20,000 such credits. Opened almost 100 of the highest paying boxes and failed most of them, earning him just under 15,000 credits. The other guy could not afford to pay money for this, but he had a few items and sold them for about 500 credits, equivalent to 5 euros. He used those credits to buy 5 boxes, and the second box he opened gave him the jackpot of 100,000 premium credits, with the ones following it an additional 200, failing only 1 box out of 5. The guy who put in money and lost nearly a half deleted his account with all of his gear and items he had bought. Members of the guild estimate that he spent a little over 2,000 euros on the game. After sulking for a week, he got back, but it was too late to restore his deleted account. Then he quit again, this time permanently. I guess for good, because it's not that healthy to spend so much money for a game or one game, maybe 10 games, alright? I don't know, you tell me, let me know in the comments below. Story 4. In one of our guild's very promising attempts at downing Seathun in World of Warcraft's AQ40, our guild leader saw a player facing the wrong way for a split second. Our leader, who was giving all 39 of us swift and timely instructions on what to do via a group voice chat, decided to flip everyone off and not only rage quit the raid but began kicking people out of the guild, all the while screaming to us all. Story 5. Not a video game. A friend of mine threw a table from a second story window after a particularly intense D&D session. He always had a temper and didn't take it well when his character went out. It was his parents' house. The window was open, so he didn't throw it through the glass. One time he got into an argument about a co-owned D&D book, as no one wanted to give up their fair share or pay others out. My friends decided to physically divide the book with an axe. Also, they divided the book sideways, cleaving all pages in half so no one gets better pages. They didn't really argue about it at that point. It was just funny and certainly provided a great story. Story 6. A few years back, when on deployment, a group of us set an Xbox LAN and began playing Gears of War 2. There was a guy who talked the 2 of us into buying the 360 console so we could have more players. After about 2 weeks of playing and getting wrecked nearly every time by this guy, we finally began to get good. There was one particular game when my buddy and I were near unstoppable. I mean, there were shotgun battles that we should have never won, and yet we always came out victorious. My friend got especially good at sniping. Throughout the match, Buddy is blasting enemies left and right. Every time he ends this guy, we hear profanity coming from the next room. They get louder and louder, and soon there's stomps that are accompanying the outburst. Oh, crap, again? Where is he? It doesn't help that there are over-the-top animations that follow the termination of this guy and his teammate. One more termination, and we win a very one-sided match. Buddy grabs a sniper rifle, quick shots this dude as he's charging with his shotgun. Head popping sound, Buddy yells, boom! We hear, God damn it, a crash, and then a slam of a door. Dude rage quit so hard he ended his $120 controller. We walked into his room to his teammate looking at us and the pieces of controller with big, what the hell, eyes? The guy laughed about it maybe 30 minutes later. We kept playing throughout the deployment and we made the broken controller into a trophy for whoever won the day's Gears battles. I think he still has it after 5 to 6 years. Story 7. I was playing against someone in some Bomberman clone on a 386 in primary school. The game didn't have a 2-player mode, so we took turns trying to get in a high level as possible. He got to something like the 3rd one and was happy as a clam. Then it was my turn. I get to the 3rd, the 4th, and he ran into the computer room screaming and actually crying, I'm not going to lose to a girl. Sure, we were both under 10 years old, and so all that much maturity was not to be expected, but still, why did he even challenge a girl if he could not stand losing to her? Story 8. When we were around 15, my mate and I had a long running game of Championship Manager 2000 2001. I was Celtic and he was Rangers, big rivals, and we had them turned into the two best teams in Europe, although I had done better than him, winning more league titles and championship leagues and almost always seeming to beat him when we played each other. This drove him into fits of unbelievable rage. During yet another all night session, we came up against each other in the Champions League final. He went up 2-0 pretty early on and was absolutely dominating until I got one back around 60 minutes and equalized in stoppage time. This made him angry, something awful. This game is rigged. How do you always come back? You're cheating. All that sort of nonsense. So we went into extra time and it was pretty even until I got a man sent off and he went on an all out attack. He thought he'd scored and was celebrating like a madman, but the goal was disallowed and he began to lose it again. But then, with 5 minutes to go, he scored again to make it 3-2. At this point, he was ecstatic and started rubbing it in my face as he began defending for his life. So the game started after his goal, and in what seemed like the last second of added time, I scored two in quick succession to win 4-3. He just stood up calmly and said, "How can that happen?" Walked out of the room, down the stairs, and out the front door at 4 a.m. Story 9. I'll share a personal story because to this day, I've never seen anyone rage quit as hard as, well, me. Mind you, I was a victim of heavy bullying for being 2 years younger than my classmates and for being skinny and frail. That made me an angry kid with a very short fuse. I was about 12 and was about to finish Need for Speed Most Wanted on PlayStation 2. The final police pursuit consists of evading the cops at maximum heat until you're given a way out through a bridge. It's not that hard, but it's intense nonetheless. I make it to the bridge, cops are catching up, the game freezes right before I cross the final point. I then proceeded to punch my PS2 full force so hard the optical unit dislodged itself. I stood there, paralyzed in fear for about 20 minutes, realizing what I've done to the expensive PS2 console my father worked so hard to give me. Back then, I simply told him something was wrong with my PS2, and we eventually got that fixed, but on that day, I swore I'd never raged so hard about a video game again. I shuddered to think about what my dad would do if he ever found out I broke my video game in anger. Nowadays, after some anger management, I realize games are made for your entertainment, and getting mad about them will not do anything good for you. So I just let it be, even on more competitive online games I play. Lesson learned, rage gets you nowhere. Story 10. I played FIFA 13 at a friend's house against him, and I was losing the whole time, 1 minute into the last 3 minutes of the game. Then I somehow scored 2 goals and won the game. I should mention that I was a real noob at FIFA, and my friend played every day. He threw the controller at his TV, which was then broken, and then he threw me out. Today, we always have a good laugh about it when one of us mentions it. Story 11. In the game Destiny, there was an endgame activity called Prison of Elders, and when it first came out, the boss, Scoreless, was damn near impossible if he didn't have a rocket launcher called Gjallarhorn. And the strategy at the time was to burn him with rockets in the first 30 seconds of the match before he has a chance to trigger the rest of the mechanics of the fight, so the attempts were short and many. So I do not have a Gjallarhorn, it's me and a buddy, and we match up with this guy who seems very nice. "No problem at all, dude," he says about me not having the gun. "We can take care of him. I hate it when people rage quit over games. It's supposed to be fun," he says. We begin. It's 1:30 a.m. Q 4:45 in the morning. Attempt number I don't even know. Remember, each attempt is 30 seconds or less, and we've been trying for 3 hours. We go in with our galleys and my hunger of scrota, not as good as a rocket. Run to the left and put down our bubbles and got him, and he's so close to being defeated, but we go down first. And then I hear this guy make a noise I've never heard in my life. It was like all air was trying to escape his lungs at once, and he won't let it until he gives in. It was something like, and then he left the party mid-scream. Now, don't get me wrong, this was not happening because of me, and we were all insanely miserable at the time, but the rage quit was glorious and made the entire thing worth it. Story 12. It was about a year after Black Ops 2 came out. I was playing Search and Destroy when a party of pub stompers joined and filled the whole other team. They obviously rolled us. The weak in our ranks left, but the stronger players knew we could beat them. We continued, taking 1 round from them, then 2, but losing in the end. Then we had a good round. We won 3 out of 4 in the first half and just needed to win 2 to clinch. We won the second and third rounds. We had finally done it, and I'd been preparing for this moment. I pulled out my iPhone 4 and pulled up a song, Queen, We Are the Champions. As soon as the chorus hit, the kid leading the party realized the mockery we had made of him and his friends and left the lobby, bringing his 5 friends with him. Then, after switching hosts, we cheered, for we had brought down the pub stompers and I had made them rage quit. Story 13. This one was an old friend that was prone to raging out during games, cops call, tables punch, loud yelling. We were playing Call of Duty MW2 and it was absolutely crushing, except my ragey friend who was eerily silent. I casually checked the score and jokingly said, "Wow, 7K, 90, not even a bad score by the way. Way to go, Dame." There was a silence, and then the most intense rage scream I have ever heard. "Well, screw you!" And the sound of his controller and headset smashing into a wall, and he disconnected instantly. We all had a laugh, and he called me 45 minutes later, talking like nothing happened. He also dented his laptop keyboard punching it because of Diablo 2, which was funny. Claw Viper Temple is no joke. Story 14. Some friends and I were building random stuff in Gmod. Being relatively new to the game, we hadn't figured out how to save our stuff. I accidentally, irreversibly imploded a flying bunker one guy had spent hours on. He flew off into the furthest corner of the map to rebuild, wouldn't talk to us, and would periodically hit me with a crossbow throughout the rest of the day. Story 15. Not so much a rage quit, but what I like to call a hilarious fear stall. My college roommate and I had a few friends over one night, and we were all hanging out and watching him play Amnesia, The Dark Descent. He's the most fun you'll ever have with a scary game in a movie. As soon as the game started, he was terrified. The concept of having to keep the lantern lit scared him so much. At one point, he picked up a chair and refused to put it down and holding it in front of him like a shield the entire time, even though he knew it wouldn't do anything. I don't think he ever actually saw the monster. This was all before anything scary actually happened. He basically decided, nope, I'm gonna sit right here. I heard something in that direction, and I know I'm supposed to check it out, but screw that, I'm not going. Somewhere like an hour in, another friend was on his way to our apartment, so we had him sneak in as quietly as possible, and then kick the bedroom door open screaming. My roommate nearly jumped out the window, then refused to play anymore. Story 16. When in late ICC, we did Ulduar every Sunday to grind Mimiron's head. We had core members that came every week, and who got the head was already decided and written down on a list everybody could see in our guild's forum. However, one of our raiders was an older lady with cancer. She was in very bad shape, and she told us months ago that eventually she would pass away. This one guy was behind her on the list for the mount and completely lost his crap when it was her turn to get it. He entirely flipped his crap in TeamSpeak, how it was wasted to give such a mount to someone who can't play with it for long anyways. He raged so long until the woman with cancer just left crying. He was kicked out of the guild and didn't find a raid slot again on the server. I don't know what happened, but he switched servers and changed names. But the drama continued for quite some time until eventually we stopped grinding them out because just getting the raid invite for Ulduar made everyone so uneasy that we had 4 hours of raiding with complete silence in TeamSpeak. Yikes, all he had to do was wait one more week for his. I can't believe people can be so cruel. Story 17. The guy didn't immediately rage quit, but it's still my favorite revenge story from a video game. Me and a whole bunch of friends were playing COD MW3, and this one kid on the other team was being really annoying. It was all the classic stuff, complaining about how his team sucked and how he was surrounded by garbage, etc., etc. Between games, we're making fun of him, and he's getting really angry. So leading into the final game, he tells us that he's got a Predator missile and that he's gonna take us all out. Little did he know, I had a trophy system. When the game started, I had my whole team group around me really tight. I love imagining how it went for him. He saw an entire team of glowing white and probably thought his revenge was coming, only to hear a small pop and have it all come crashing down. It was truly beautiful. Story 18. I was playing Call of Duty with my stepbrother online and he was getting destroyed. At one point, I actually ended up ending him and he lost it. Face turned bright red and he was almost in slow motion. He threw the controller as hard as he could and it destroyed the TV screen. You'd think it would have stopped there, but nope. We went upstairs and got our parents' TV out of their bedroom to continue playing without unplugging the system. Well, once again, he had a less than desirable K to D ratio and chunked the controller once again at the second TV. Needless to say, we lost 2 TVs and an Xbox controller that day. Story 19. Warhawk on PS3. I was slightly better than average at flying in that game, but my buddy was ridiculously good. I mean like a legit KDR of 40 to 1 on his everyday account, not one of those accounts someone uses once to get a huge KDR then never uses again. Yes, some people did that in that game to be on the leaderboards. No, I don't know why. Anyways, our playstyles complemented each other very well, and playing with him made me a better player. It got to the point where battles would be quite lopsided, so we started making matches where it would be ground vehicles only, no flying. A couple of gents from another clan started mouthing off about how much better they were. We only made the room no flying because we were terrible at it, etc. So we challenged them to a clan fight. We figuratively crapped on them in the fight. It was bad, so they challenged us to an air battle. So we joined the room, and after talking all that crap, the crap talkers didn't even join the match, instead sending in their top pilots. We crushed them again, so we tell them all to join and we'll beat them 5 versus 2, which we do handily. Open mic is a wonderful thing, especially getting to listen to them melt down, blame each other, and so on. Their clan disbanded after that match. We still talk about that one occasionally. Story 20. Not a rage quit story, but this qualifies in my opinion. A couple of my friends and I started playing D&D, and some of them relocated or didn't have time to play it, so we invited some other guys to play with us. But one of the guys was crazy. He used to be the local pyro guy and stuff. I don't even know. So we started playing it, and we play with the same characters for a bit more like a year. And on one of those beautiful days, the character of the pyro guy got ended. He was extremely unlucky anyways. But the guy pulled out a knife and he told the DM, I'm quoting, "You're mistaken, maybe it's you who's going to pass away." That was the scariest moment ever. Never played D&D after that. Story 21. I had a friend who I played fighting games with that was the absolute saltiest player ever. If he won any match, he'd be like, "Oh yeah, screw you, I beat your bum, you got screwed, ha 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 ha." If you won, he'd be like, "Wow, way to spam, you freaking loser, you play like such a freaking schmuck. If I play spammy characters like you, I'd bet I'd win all the time too." Now, keep in mind, he was generally better than me and won more than half the time on average. He would rage quit all the time. If I caught him in a super or ultra that was guaranteed to end him, he'd rage quit during the animation 100% of the time. It was absolutely impossible for this guy to win without gloating about how great he was and how crap you were, or to lose without screaming at you and calling you a cheap spammer and rage quitting. Like, he could beat me 5 matches in a row, gloat every freaking time, and then I would beat him once, and he'd be like, "Oh, yeah, I knew you'd pull a win out of your bum with that cheap crap. Screw this, I'm done playing." So, shortly after Street Fighter V came out, we decided we'd play a set, and I managed to beat him 3 times in a row. He had a total freaking meltdown. He ranted and raved for like 15 minutes straight about how cheap I was at the game. For the record, I'm absolutely crap at the game. How unfair it was that they changed all the inputs for his favorite character, Vega, and how the game totally sucks solely because it allowed me to beat him when he was, according to him, the vastly superior player. He ended up attacking me personally, saying all sorts of nasty crap about me, and then he blocked me on Steam, all because he couldn't stand losing at a video game. And if you're nodding your head in agreement to one of these or just shaking your head like, "Aw, man, but you know is also you when you were younger," don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button for more videos just like this. Story 22. Well, this one is just about me because I've never seen anyone else rage. CSGO typically makes me very salty, and I throw the first thing I see in sight. I've broken 3 controllers, my PlayStation is also on my desk, my phone, and the worst one of all was when I was, for some reason, had a hammer on my desk and I threw it at the wall like I did all my other things, and I kid you not, when I pulled the hammer out, I could see into my neighbor's apartment. Story 23. A friend's house used to own an appliance store, and they had a corner of the showroom dedicated to TVs and other electronics. Since his parents were cool and we were respectful, they'd let us come into the store on certain nights after closing to use the TVs for gaming. We'd bring our PCs or game consoles to hook up. One night we were there, and our friend brought his Wii U to play some Mario Kart Wii. He supplied everything, the controllers, the game, and the system. We were all playing and having a great time. During one particular race, it was myself, the friend who brought the Wii U, I'll call him Kurt, my best friend, and another person. My best friend chose automatic transmission for his vehicle instead of manual, and Kurt basically said that was stupid and that he'd never win against us with automatic. My best friend didn't care, he just wanted to play. Well, Kurt lost. This infuriated Kurt. He couldn't believe he lost to someone using automatic transmission instead of manual. He threw his controller onto the floor in a rage, got up, and left the building right then and there. He left his console, controllers, and everything. He just walked out. He ended up coming back maybe 20 minutes later, cooled down, and barely even acknowledged his outburst. We all think he has schizophrenia that was exacerbated by his substance use and a cruel relationship. Story 24. Me and my brother-in-law got into Minecraft. We dug a huge complex mine underground with a working cart system using redstone. We spent so many hours, weeks worth, doing this. Both had amazing houses above the mine, diamond armor and swords and stuff, portals to the nether or whatever it is. One night while playing solo, I jumped through a portal. Ghouls started to attack me. I dug into the side of a hill to hide but got ended. I had a full inventory of gold and diamonds and so on. Never touched the game since. This was about a year ago. Story 25. I don't know if playing Mobile Legends counts me in as a gamer in the gaming community, but here goes. Mobile Legends is basically a mobile ripoff version of LOL. It's a 5 versus 5 game. My teammate and I were farming jungle monsters to quickly earn gold and EXP. And there are monsters once farmed, giving the last hitter a buff. Before we went to the jungle, the player told me or she needs the buff. I didn't respond since it's a hassle to type while playing. So what I usually do is help lower the health and not hit the monster once its health is low. I accidentally got the buff, and honest to Arceus, I didn't intend to get it, but the player hit chat and screamed at me, then went AFK for the rest of the game. I mean, the monsters will respawn in a few minutes, so you can just wait and try again. So yeah, kind of frustrating. Story 26. Oh man, I used to play this MUD back in the day. It was roleplay enforced, so you basically stayed in character, except through whispers or in a couple of out of character areas. Anyway, some dragon tried to talk some trash about a library, but my character understood his, so I made a smart bum comment about burning it down. He just started attacking me, so I beat his bum down but didn't end him. He started freaking out of character about PvP and how no one roleplays and stuff for like 5 minutes before getting yanked, removed by a moderator. Idiot, you attacked me first. He was gone for a while after that. Story 27. I had a buddy, let's call him D, when I was younger, whose house was just sort of the house. It's where everyone went to hang out, mostly because A, it was vaguely central between us all, and B, his dad didn't care about us coming and going at all hours. Back during the heyday of Guitar Hero and Rock Band, he was a god among us. Like, I was okay, my other two buddies were better than me, and D was miles above them. One day I went over and he was in the middle of Through the Fire and Flames and doing pretty relatively well, all things considered. So I walked into the room, sat down on the couch next to him, and just watched. A minute goes by, he's just zoned into the screen, and he fails the song. And as soon as it happened, he let out this terrifyingly primal bellow and swung his fist directly at the wall behind him. Had I not ducked, he'd have hit me right in the face. Instead, he just broke through the drywall. Then he looked over and saw me there and was like, "Oh crap, I'm sorry, I didn't even notice." And he felt terrible for at least a week. It was freaking hilarious though. Story 28. I don't even remember what game I was playing, but this one guy kept being a huge schmuck to everyone in chat. He kept saying things like, "1 versus 1 me, piece of crap, I bet you're too scared to, huh?" And was overall just being annoying. Someone challenged him to a 1 versus 1, and the winner got to keep some rare item he had. He lost, gave the person the item, left, and when I quit playing over a year later, he still hasn't been on since that happened. It wasn't even that valuable of an item, LMAO. Story 29. In Metal Gear Online, there's the infamous full-time mechanic that in online play is used to land more points and to gain tickets for your own team. Some people apparently were too proud to be full-tone, so they would disconnect before the full-tone deployed. But there's this one sad excuse of a player who would do nothing all game but sit in the far end of the map and wait for people to walk into their claymores. I was baffled and frankly annoyed at them for just wasting space and learned his style pretty quickly. So every time I end him, he would rage quit and then come back maybe 30 minutes later. Sometimes even landing a stun or putting them to sleep would make them instantly RQ because they knew it was going to end in a Fulton. The best one was after playing against him for maybe 4 hours, so I had downloaded him pretty thoroughly at that point. When the match started, the first thing I did after I saw he was in the match was to run to the opposite side of the map that rarely saw any action, and just scouted the area quickly and found him prone behind some sandbags. I landed an easy tranquilizer headshot and he rage quitted before I got to his body. It was a greatest read, although not a hard one to be fair. Match time was maybe 40 seconds at this point. I have clips of this, but it would be rude to make a video of them. His name was some edgy Sonic name as well, which made it that more amusing. Story 35. Can I do one that I actually did? I went to a summer camp in elementary school that literally did not supervise us at all, apart from the bare minimum of feeding us, taking us swimming, and recess. So as kids would bring our DSs in and literally play all day long. One day we were playing COD4 multiplayer, and my friend was ganging up on me. In desperation, since I was getting my butt kicked, I attempted to grab my friend's DS out of his hand. Unbeknownst to me, his DS, like the first generation non-light one, was old and in very poor condition and proceeded to rip apart in my hands. Story 31. It's not really a rage quit, but technically it works, I guess. I was playing Monopoly with my boyfriend. He was playing logically, saving money, buying streets, trying to get all 3 streets of the same color. I didn't buy into that strategy. I saved all my money for 3 rounds until I had the chance to buy Boardwalk, Rue de la Paix, for all the Frenchies here. I bought that sucker, spent all my money on it until I built a hotel. I had no money left. I even had to borrow some from my boyfriend, who was a bit angry because I wasn't playing normally enough. Then it was his turn. He landed on Boardwalk. Money for me. My turn came and went, nothing special. His next turn, and he landed on Boardwalk again. Long story short, he landed on Boardwalk 4 times in a row. I took all his money and started buying some of the remaining streets. That's when he went absolutely crazy. He stood up, picked up the board game, threw it on the ground, trampled on it without saying a word, and went to the bedroom. I was laughing, hysterically, but I took the time to tidy up the mess he made. When I went to the bedroom, he was under the covers. He went to sleep at 8 p.m. that night, and to this day, he's still mad when I tell the story. He was 25 at the time and had always been a bad loser. Story 32. Was playing League with a couple of buddies in a normal game. We're all doing pretty well, except for one of us. He wasn't ruining our chances to win or anything. As we were destroying the base, we started throwing some jabs at him. Just some friendly banter that was pretty common for us. The kid just starts freaking out about how he got no help and whatnot, then rage quits right before we win the game. Story 33. An American here who was visiting family in the country of Poland in 2010. My older cousin loves the US and the NHL, so he got one of the games for his PS3. When I was a kid and he would visit us, we'd play the NES and Super NES, and he'd always win because he had all the games emulated on his computer. So, thinking he could beat me at something still, we'd play, and when I was winning, he'd get mad and take the game out and throw it at the wall. Not hard, so it broke, but it was weird. Then later, he'd ask if I want to play again, and it would turn into the same story. He would smash his controller until it broke apart and the electronics inside were spilling out and had to go buy a new one. That happened twice. Great guy, sore loser. Story 34. Does Magic the Gathering count? I was still in the process of putting my deck together. The previous week, the same guy demolished me. He was a little bit of a schmuck about it, but I didn't care. I was reacquiring my feel for the game and was about 12 cards shy of my ideal deck. The next week, I got 6 of my cards in the mail. For the first of 3 games, I was paired against the same guy. He was ecstatic and started talking trash immediately. I said, bruh, I got 6 new cards. I think I might win. That's not enough. This is going to be easy, blah, 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 blah. 5 rounds in, my rats were multiplying like crazy. I concede, he said, with tears rolling down his cheeks. I need a smoke, as he swept his side of the table into his backpack and walked outside. I didn't see him for a month after that. Story 35. I used to attend a lot of LAN parties as well as host them. I have plenty of rage stories from those, but the one that shines out most of all in my head was when a kid got so mad at losing a CSS match that he proceeded to shut down his PC, disassemble it all the way down to bare parts. Why? I do not know. Then sit and glare at people while he slowly put it back together. He would also yell out, "Screw you," if anyone on the team who beat him talked even if they were not talking to him. 90% sure that kid is institutionalized now. Story 36. Quite embarrassed by this, but here it goes. I was playing Hearthstone and got so angry at the RNG Fiesta that I slammed my fist into a bar stool. Our downstairs neighbor called up calling me a schmuck. I slammed my fist into the stool again and screamed, "You're the freaking schmuck." We had a history though, so there was a little bit more pent-up frustration behind this interaction. My wife was in the room. She didn't say a thing, just watched me as I uninstalled the app, turned off my iPad, and went out to the balcony for a while. Story 37. I was around my friend's house and he suggested we play Madden. I'd never played Madden before and he knew it. My guess is that he wanted to beat me to prove he was better than me at Madden. After I scored 3 touchdowns without reply, I learned some of the simple showboating skills and started doing them. After the 4th touchdown, he switched off the PlayStation and said he didn't want to play anymore. Story 38. So I ordinarily really hate rogues in World of Warcraft. I don't know why, but the class has never really clicked with me. My younger sister plays one. That's fine. This, though, is a story about a rogue I encountered while going through the crappy Maruudon portion of leveling. So my dad makes a throwaway character, basically a dedicated healer, and I decide to make a protection warrior. Tank plus healer means we'll be done with these things faster and makes sense. Well, there was this a-hole rogue, didn't have any heirlooms, basically items that scale with you up to a particular level, but he felt entitled to getting through ASAP. This guy pulls a crap ton more than I do, and I call him out on it. He says nothing and continues to pull things, and I have to frequently save his bum. We stop for a little while in front of the first boss, who we know has 4 invisible ads around him. He waits up, finally apparently understanding that I wasn't going to take his crap if he pulled this particular boss, so I go in. After the mage has accidentally moved into what he thinks is position, but is actually the spawn point of 2 of the ads. So I rush in to take aggro off of him, and the rogue ends up pulling the boss in the meantime. Frickin' hell, this guy is a pain in my bum. After Dadbot and I help keep the rest of the party alive, I see in my whispers the rogue essentially screaming me out, calling me a double-standarding little wuss who can't keep aggro. This is despite the fact that he has been making me mad this whole time with his BS. He leaves the party when I call him out on it. Good, there's being a rogue player, and then there's being a schmuck who doesn't understand that rogues don't tank. Story 39. My friends and I were playing Destiny, which by itself can already be rage-inducing. It was during the Dark Below. Hard mode for Crota's End Raid just dropped, and we were all excited for some sweet new primary weapons. When we finished navigating the lamps, we received less than impressive loot. We then completed the bridge, and to my delight, I received the Abyss Defiant, an auto rifle for all my troubles. All but one of us received the same weapon. The player in question only got some shards for his trouble. In the excitement, everyone equipped the new auto rifle and began using it joyfully. Some unrecognizable words were heard from the other of the unlucky player's mic. A crash soon followed, and the notification came that said they had left the raid. One of the others said, "Don't worry, I'm sure he'll be back." Seconds later, the party chat popped up on the screen saying they had left. First time ever this particular friend has shown that much rage in any game I have ever played with them. We all have had a good laugh about it since. Story 40. Many moons ago, when the original NES was still new and fresh, my younger brother was having a bit of trouble with Metroid. At the time, we had the NES hooked up to a large-ish console television. You know the kind? It's the one at your grandma's house that has her brand new flat screen on top of it. Anyways, younger bro, he was 7, 10 years old, I think. Couldn't get Samus to do whatever it was he was trying to accomplish. He gets fed up, throws the controller down, stands up, and runs full tilt at the TV and headbutts the screen. The screen shatters and trips the circuit breaker. Sometime later, we had another console TV in the same place, and he did it again. Safe to say, he has anger management issues. Story 41. Ooh, I got a good story for you. So, me and an old friend of mine were playing LOL like 5 years ago or something. We met another dude, older fellow, around 25, 30. We were both 16 at the time. He was a very determined fellow. He loved screaming when winning team fights, positive screams. Usually a very friendly dude with a lot of spirit and enthusiasm. But with that, we were also the absolute most insane rages I've ever witnessed. Once we were losing a game and getting our bums kicked, and he went absolutely freaking mad. We are all German, so just imagine the iconic angry German kid all grown up. And yeah, he demolished hardware. That was the first and only time he rage quitted because after that, we stopped playing with him. Lol. Over TeamSpeak, it sounded like he jumped up, knocked his chair down, flipped the keyboard, slammed his headphones off, and screamed like a gorilla. Then he left the room, screaming and slamming the door shut. After that, he went silent. We left the TS server, figured that guy was messed up and got some issues, and just removed him everywhere. Can't speak for my friend, but at the time, I was legit scared. Story 42. This was a board game, but you didn't specify it had to be digital, so an ex-boyfriend of mine was playing Civilization, the board game, at the game shop with some friends. An hour or so in, I hear him shouting. Turns out he negotiated a truce with another player whose base was next to his. He then went on to aggressively attack all the other players and left that guy untouched. So that guy built up his army and attacked him from behind. He was so enraged, he was screaming and kicking the guy out of the store. He didn't even work there anymore, telling him never to show his face there again. And that's one of the reasons why he's an ex. Story 43. Maybe not the worst, but definitely the most childish I've dealt with. Playing Final Fantasy XIV a few months after the Heaven's Ward expansion came out in 2015, and had a tank sit his character down in between trash packs of mobs in a dungeon because I, the healer, had the audacity to DPS in between heals. We were all max level with decent gear. As a white mage, we're given plenty of offensive spells, so we're not just sitting there twiddling our thumbs until someone takes damage. I got a wall of text and a party chat about how my job is to heal and heal only, and throwing in a lot of colorful names at me. Tank refused to move, so the two other players and I went on our merry way and continued the dungeon without him. He got so angry that I was able to not only keep two people alive who didn't have tanky HP or defense buffs, but also still deal damage that he kept trying to initiate a vote abandon. When that didn't work, he demanded in chat that we kick him. We didn't want the duty finder penalty for leaving an instance himself, and getting kicked or voting to abandon wouldn't incur it. We didn't kick him and told him if he just sat there, we'd finish the dungeon and he'd get his completion rewards with no penalty. But it wasn't good enough for him, and after some more verbal cruelty in chat and right before the last boss, all he needed to do was wait 5 more minutes. He finally left the instance, and I've never run into him since. Stuff like this happens all the time, but it was the first time it had ever actually happened to me. All because I made the dungeon go faster by helping out with damage. Story 44. My second brother has some anger management issues, and the one that he raged at the most is in Advance Wars Days of Ruin. I was watching him play on a DS emulator and laptop. There's this really hard map, and every time one of his units lost, he would flip out by throwing anything he would see. Good thing he is sensible enough not to hurt me. The worst he did is he tried to vent his anger out on our 7 cubic feet high fridge. Yep, a frickin' fridge. He managed to have some dents at the door, and the fridge fell sideways due to his raging, so what the heck? After he cooled down, I helped him clean inside the fridge, and he swore not to rage like that ever again. Now he is one of the chillest dudes I know and a responsible dad to his kids, though he can be obnoxious sometimes, but not as bad as before. Story 45. My own rage quit starts with a build-up rivalry between me and this other guy, a group of ex-WoW players from the same guild. I played various games, but this guy always had a rag on me for something. Never did it to anyone else, even if it was the same thing. So one day he starts screaming HOTS beta, never has streamed before. I help him get stuff started, settings, etc. A week or so later, he has a decent 10 viewer following, and I mention how he should talk a bit more to engage the people watching. He says, "Don't antagonize me in front of my viewers," and kicks me from the chat system we used at the time. I basically stopped playing with them all for a year or so. I just didn't want to tolerate the guy being a schmuck. The other people started with him before me, and one was his brother, so it was just me. I watched a lot of streams, played solo, and still had a fairly good time. Started playing with the other guys, his stream quit, and there was still tension between us. But yeah, I rage quit playing with the people I liked because of one guy just making me his person to witch on. It works out most days, but I still feel the role of an outcast when he is around. And if any of these stories got to you, here's more for you. YouTube thinks you're gonna love this. I'll catch you in that video.